everyone, and welcome to today's User Engagement Teardown. Today we'll be comparing three top online travel agents, TripAdvisor, Travelocity, and Kayak. My name is Alyssa Jarrett, and I'm the head of content here at Iterable, and we're happy to have you today. Before we get started, I'd like to share a little bit of background information on Iterable. Iterable is the growth marketing platform that powers world-class customer engagement with unparalleled data flexibility. You can create, execute, and optimize marketing campaigns across email, mobile push, SMS, in-app, and more, such as direct mail, web push, and social retargeting. Everything you can see here and more can be done with Iterable. You can see all other user engagement teardowns at iterable.com/teardown. So what is a user engagement teardown? Well, this is something that we started in the dawn of Iterable, where we analyze cross-channel user engagement over a defined period post-signup, typically 3 weeks, so we can see a variety of messages across the first welcome and onboarding campaigns. We offer constructive evaluation and feedback, covering all types of B2C businesses, such as e-commerce, various types of marketplaces, media and entertainment companies, politics and other nonprofit organizations, etc. So if there's other brands out there that you'd like to see in a future user engagement teardown, we'd love to take your suggestions and recommendations. And then we're going to provide a little bit of background on today's competitors here. TripAdvisor, Travelocity, and Kayak are three leading online travel agents, or OTAs. TripAdvisor was founded in 2000 and is the world's largest travel website, generating revenues of approximately $1.5 billion last year. Travelocity is owned by Expedia Group, which acquired the company in 2015 for $280 million. And then Kayak was acquired by Booking Holdings, formerly known as the Priceline Group, in 2013 for $1.8 billion. So these are some travel powerhouses, and we are excited to jump into their cross-channel campaigns. So what did we do during this user engagement teardown? Well, this is a great summer project. We signed up for accounts at each of these three sites and received messages over 3 weeks between July and August of this year. And over that period of 3 weeks, we escalated our activity by completing our user profiles, we downloaded their mobile apps, and we browsed travel deals and even abandoned carts of travel packages for cities like San Francisco, Denver, and New York City. So as we go through the user engagement timelines, you're going to see recommendations based on these cities. So without further ado, let's get to the user engagement timeline. For each of these particular timelines, we're going to show you what we, as the user, did in the top section of the timeline, and then the messages that we received on each particular day underneath that timeline chart. In the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see the types of activities, whether it occurred on desktop or mobile, and the various message types for scheduled messages, triggered, transactional messages, and mobile messages like SMS and push notifications. So using this user engagement timeline, we're going to jump into each brand's user engagement. First up is TripAdvisor. So on the TripAdvisor user engagement timeline, we started by signing up for an account on the website. And after we did that on that particular day, we received a welcome email followed by 2 transactional messages, one to select a password and another to confirm our screen name. We did feel like it was an interesting choice to provide 2 transactional messages when one might suffice, or this might be a good opportunity by having 2FA via mobile verification. But you know, we can understand that transactional messages are important when confirming a particular new user account. Afterwards, when we had completed our user profile, we received a second welcome email, this time to JetSetter, which is a TripAdvisor company for travel advice. This we do not believe was tied to our particular action, but we thought it was interesting that their best practices or their newsletters or their particular thought leadership content is separated with the JetSetter brand, as you'll see as we jump into the email templates. The next message of our onboarding series was personalized by first name. So actually they were taking the fields that we completed in our profile, and then it shared the winners of the recent Traveler's Choice Awards. So it's nice to see that it's becoming more personalized as they learn more information about us. We then received 3 more messages, 2 for the weekly travel news from both JetSetter and TripAdvisor, and then 1 promoting recommended hotels. These were personalized by name and or our preferred airport. So again, although we felt like they were scheduled messages, they are getting more personalized as we go along. A couple of days later, we received a message with the subject action required asking us to update our home location. So it's really nice to see that in the absence of customer data, they are trying to get that information for further personalization. This is a great tactic, and I'm sure this particular message has great open rates. We then received a series of scheduled emails towards the next half of our timeline here, and those were similar to the previous ones we received. So we have more weekly newsletters and a promotion for hotel recommendations. We also received on those days 2 triggered messages, one to claim our first reviewer badge, and then another to see prices of San Francisco hotels that we had viewed before. We like the idea of the new reviewer badge because in terms of onboarding, it again motivates us to get more involved with the TripAdvisor platform. So we thought this was a great way to again get us to convert in a certain way. And again, keeping us informed on various local deals is certainly something we were interested in based on our user activity. On day 16, we received our first and only mobile message. It was a push notification triggered by our mobile cart abandonment. It said, "Your San Francisco trip, see today's lowest hotel prices." So again, a great opportunity of taking our preferred city, which was San Francisco, and providing us recent deals that could hopefully get us to make that purchase. And then the last 5 days of the analysis included the most personalized of all the messages. We have 2 identical cart abandon emails encouraging us to complete your booking now, and 3 price updates of San Francisco and New York hotels that we had viewed. So again, it's great to see that they have a cart abandonment campaign that is definitely timely and provides us the most recent prices because as we can tell with the travel industry, real-time information is critical. So this is really great to see from TripAdvisor. Next up is Travelocity, so let's walk through their user engagement timeline. Shortly after we signed up for a new user account, we received a welcome email with various CTAs to connect with customer specialists, see member discounts, and download the mobile app. We're going to walk through this welcome email just shortly, so let's move on to the next messages. Afterwards, we then received daily emails for travel deals with little personalization beyond our first name. Templates and subject lines were often reused, as you can see with that highlighted section of subject lines in the corner there. We did, however, have to give props to Travelocity. Likely there is some sort of frequency capping or throttling here since it was so very consistent with 1 email per day. Whereas even though these messages weren't personalized, if we were actually engaging with these messages, this doesn't necessarily mean that these are poorly timed messages because we're not receiving too many at once. Then on day 15, we received a triggered message promoting San Francisco hotels that we had viewed. So it's a little difficult to gauge the exact timing of when they received this information, but it is nice to see that we're finally getting some stuff that is catered to our user activity. The next 2 emails were duplicates with the same subject line, which is an unfortunate choice. It said, "Important message" in all caps. You lucked out on a San Francisco deal. When seen back to back, this can look like it's yelling at you. So we might want to figure out how best to vary up the content and make sure that there is no such thing as message fatigue from Travelocity. The following triggered emails we received were based on New York hotels that we had viewed with subject lines like "effective immediately," "fantastic news," "you looked out on a New York deal." Again, we received some duplicates. So it's all about making sure that you can politely remind the customer that they've got something that they might be interested in without providing the exact same content each time. And then the last 3 promotions encouraged us to set deal alerts, which is a fabulous piece of the platform, view their $99 getaways, and check out more hotels. So these were all very price-oriented, which may suit the Travelocity customer base, but it is always nice to know exactly why a customer might be interested in the deal and why they might not. So more personalization would be needed for these messages. And finally, let's look at Kayak's user engagement. After we signed up for a new user account, we received a welcome email asking us to confirm this account and provide the latest details for several major cities around the world, as you can see in that screenshot there, which we'll dive into later in this presentation. The first two scheduled emails we received included a sponsored message for Bermuda and a standard promotion for international travel packages. Again, at this point, they have no additional information on us, so these are just some recommendations from Kayak itself. So we'll see what happens when we provide more data. After we updated our profile, we received a more personalized email with the subject line, "Picked for you, flights from SFO," along with local road trip deals. So that's great that they're now personalizing by our location and offering things that are relevant to us. A couple of days later, we received another promotion for international travel packages. So again, this might be part of just a regular scheduled activity. These weren't personalized to our preferences. On day 11, we received our first and only mobile message, an interesting push notification that only used emojis, magnifying glass, airplane, house. So basically, that implies searching for flights or hotels. So it's an interesting take, and I'm curious to see the results on this one. So if anyone's listening from Kayak, give us a call. We then received a series of daily emails, 3 triggered messages based on our browsing history, 1 international travel promotion, and 1 sponsored message by cruises.com. So now we're starting to see that weekly travel promotions and weekly sponsored messages are part of Kayak's email and messaging strategy. The final messages we received during our analysis were yet another sponsored email by Sandals Resorts and a 99-hour all-inclusive beach vacation sale. But I would like to point out we did not provide any preferences or behaviors that would resonate with these messages. So these were not as personalized as they could have been. So to conclude the course of our 3-week study and to talk about these frequency takeaways, all online travel agencies here relied on email as the primary channel to communicate with their users. And this is not surprising. This is what we see across industries when we're dealing with consumers, because email is often their preferred method of communication, and it is also the marketing channel that generates the most ROI. So we definitely believe in the power of email, but it's interesting that mobile presence is not as visible for these particular OTAs. So as you can see, only TripAdvisor and Kayak offered mobile push notifications, and none of the 3 OTAs had SMS included in their cross-channel strategies. And to dive a little deeper into these brands' differing priorities, we can definitely tell that there is uniqueness in each of their strategies. TripAdvisor differentiates itself with communications with their jet setter brand when it comes to their weekly travel advice and overall thought leadership content. And they excelled at personalization based on our cart abandonment and browsing history. We felt like they were the most personalized of the 3 brands, and we felt like they were definitely listening to us as we provided information over time. Travelocity maintained a consistent daily schedule of promotions that indicated some sort of frequency capping or throttling, as long as it provided occasional messages that were triggered by user activity. We would like to see this increase moving forward, but overall we thought it was a great start for a welcome strategy and overall onboarding with consumers. And then finally, Kayak balanced triggered and scheduled messages with its unique focus on sponsored emails from its travel partners. So we did start to notice that weekly sponsored promotions were part of the Kayak communication strategy. And we would like to see more personalization in these sponsorships, because I feel like they would be a great addition to their traditional promotions, as well as their triggered and transactional messages. So great opportunities for all 3 brands when it comes to becoming more targeted and more personalized with their customer base. Now let's look at the message content of all 3 of these travel brands. First up is TripAdvisor. These are 5 standard TripAdvisor messages as depicted in Gmail. You'll notice at first we've got value-based calls to action that focus on content rather than conversion. This is a great tactic, especially with new users who are just acclimating to your product or service. So there's no reason to really hit them over the head with some very, very upfront conversion. So this is a great way for them to get familiar with your brand over time. Then we've noticed some pre-header personalization, first by email address before we updated our user profile, then by our first name after completing the profile. This is an interesting tactic we don't normally see, and it's something that we can tell is actually learning from our user activity and our preferences as we continue across the timeline. And then on this particular onboarding message, this message that says, now that you're part of our community, really extends the conversation. It provides that ability to feel like you're part of the brand, you're part of the community and a family. And so this really, again, hones in on being inclusive and helpful as a service for travel rather than just a vendor. And then you can notice that also they use different email templates for their Jet Setter weekly travel newsletter. It's much more minimal with very little color, but it's also content block oriented as they show blog posts like the 10 packing mistakes to avoid, or they, feature some Caribbean hotels. So lots of really great content here, and it's definitely something that can be distinguished from the actual TripAdvisor brand. And then in their cart abandonment email and push notification, you can tell it's based on user activity with subject lines like complete your booking now, and then they have the hotel information there listed with the review rating and CTAs to book. And it even asks you in that email if you still want updates about this specific hotel, and that's a great way to get response rates, which of course improves your engagement metrics and your deliverability. Next up is Travelocity. So here we've got 3 standard Travelocity messages, again, depicted in Gmail. The first thing you're going to notice is the competing CTAs that we mentioned earlier in the presentation for this welcome email. You can see the first one is to connect now with a travel specialist, and then underneath that it's to see member discounts, and if you were to scroll farther down the email it would be to download the app. So there's a lot of competing asks here in this welcome email. All of the content is formatted the same. It might be great to see Travelocity really hone in on what that very first step would be in a welcome campaign, and then ask for these particular conversions later in the campaign. Overall, a lot going on, and I'd be curious to see the results of this particular message, and we might provide some recommendations going forward. In Travelocity's other messages, you can find some interesting little tidbits. Here that we're pointing to is a header image that's personalized by our first name. This is actually a static image. It's not animated, which might be an interesting take. I think this is a matter of user preference on whether they will resonate with this type of design. But hey, we're all about personalization wherever we can get it, right? Then we're going to notice a couple of other things like this personalized content block that says chosen for Kate, handpicked trips just for you, among other content blocks that are more standard. We can see children stay or eat free, even though we hadn't specified that we had children, or we see one that says your American Airlines deals, and we hadn't preferred an airline as well. So a little hit and miss in this particular content block, but again, I like the personalization by first name, and we can certainly hone in with more information as the user gets more familiar with the brand. And then here we have a hotel recommendation email based on our browser history. It says San Francisco hotels recommended just for you. And then it's got a list of various hotels with their images, ratings, and prices. And then it has more CTAs to view the hotels. So great way to really pull in user activity and make it personalized to them. And finally, let's take a look at Kayak's messages. Here are 4 standard email and mobile messages as depicted in Gmail and iOS. So you're going to notice, first off, we've got our welcome email that has an account confirmation call to action, followed by hotel deals right here under the CTA button here. You can scroll. It starts off with Las Vegas, but then it will scroll through some other major cities. At this point, they know nothing about us, so I can see why they'd want to sort of cast a broad net. Then we also have sponsored emails dedicated to specific travel partners. In this case, it's Bermuda, saying enjoy a free night in Bermuda if you, follow this particular travel package, and it gives you some options there. So great way to bring in travel partners. And again, as you become more familiar with your user, you can personalize these by bringing in metadata, data feeds, and various other ways to build more targeted communications. And then over here, we've got hotel recommendations based on our browser history. These stand out from the other brands because of their large, beautiful imagery and their use of amenity icons here. So they can actually tell you if that hotel has free Wi-Fi, if it has parking, air conditioning, if it maybe serves you breakfast. And so this is a way from becoming less of a travel vendor and more of a travel agent, right? Which is exactly what people are looking for from a booking site nowadays. And then, as we mentioned previously, the emoji-only push notification, it's enigmatic. It may or may not have been effective depending on the user. But, after a quick second, we realized that this was asking us to search for flight and hotel deals. So again, extremely intrigued by this message, and emoji usage is certainly increasing with brands as they appeal to a younger demographic. So finally, after we've observed the messages of all three of these brands, we have some content takeaways here. Obviously, each brand incorporates their own version of extremely strong branding, streamlined design, mobile responsiveness, but they differ in their messaging strategies to new users. As you could have seen, TripAdvisor does separate its weekly travel news from personalized and corporate content with its Jetsetter brand. Travelocity focuses less on personalization, but more on the appeal to the price-conscious consumer, which again is a huge portion of the market. And then Kayak prioritizes partner sponsorships and extremely image-heavy templates to really entice travelers to book that deal. So we're not necessarily saying that one is better than the other. We're not here to say that we know exactly how to run your businesses. But as messaging experts, we're going to bring in our own recommendations if these businesses see fit. And if you're in the travel industry or in another B2C business and you find this useful, hopefully you can learn from this. And let's get started with some suggestions. So here's our recommendations for these online travel agents. We believe that all companies can optimize their cross-channel marketing, and that's not just these three brands, that's every brand. We believe that you need to be investing more heavily in integrating your mobile channels like push and SMS with your email program. That way you're amplifying your brand voice and really boosting ROI. For these brands specifically, we think that TripAdvisor could build their Jetsetter brand. We find it's extremely useful for new users by making more personalized weekly newsletters based on the browsing history. And you can do this with dynamic content, you can start off really small as you get more information and then get more sophisticated over time. So again, these weekly newsletters are a great asset to customers, and we think that they'll really build brand loyalty. For Travelocity, I think it's all about increasing their automation, right? We saw a lot of daily scheduled messages, but we'd like to see more messages triggered off user activity rather than sending this generalized content. And so that's really taking into things like building workflows, making API calls to various data sources, and really getting that specific information to each individual user. And lastly, Kayak could improve its sponsored emails by integrating more targeted content that are, again, based on individual preferences and behaviors. Sponsored emails are a fabulous way to supplement your email program, but again, it really is about the user at the end of the day, not the partner. And so we want to make sure we're still bringing in this personalized information. We can see this with our own customer base. Customers like ShopRunner have an excellent partner program, and they're actually building those emails based on user activity, which is, again, ultimately going to make more money for the partner as well. So it's a win-win-win situation. And if you're interested in learning more about how Iterable powers customer engagement for our own clients, we really are about enabling brands to build highly personalized welcome and onboarding campaigns, in addition to all of the other campaigns in the customer lifecycle. Here we have the three stages of the lifecycle in this graphic. We've highlighted activation, which is really about that post user sign up, everything from your welcome campaigns, onboarding, free trials, freemium to premium, and anything else that's going to activate consumer interest. And that's what these user engagement teardowns are all about. And so as we move across the life cycle, Iterable also excels at various nurture and drip campaigns, your standard promotions, everything under the sun when it comes to B2C business. And then, of course, the reactivation campaigns, which can involve re-engagement when people lose interest, or also the same kinds of campaigns that really reactivate more purchases, deeper engagement, really to drive that retention and loyalty. But when it comes to new users and really getting the biggest bang for your buck out of early engagement, we've seen some great success stories. Companies like Rocksbox, which is a jewelry subscription provider, has been able to convert 40% of their users to make their first purchase by really targeting their segmentation of new memberships. We even see this in the mobile space. ASICS has their ASICS Studio app, and by really focusing on the early days of app launch, their testing actually increased click rates on mobile by 47%. So it's really about optimizing that funnel both with your email program and your mobile program. And then lastly, Yoga Glow is a great yoga and fitness app. They're all about collecting user data to curate personalized fitness sessions. So again, you don't have to be a travel company to find the benefits of Iterable and to really build these personalized campaigns. And then, of course, there's always more teardowns. So if you liked this teardown, you are definitely going to want to check out our others. So you can view them all at iterable.com/teardown. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Iterable using the hashtag #UETeardown. And again, if you're interested to know how Iterable can really power these campaigns, reach out and request a demo, right? We'll make it customized to you because personalization is the name of the game here. And so that's all we have for today. Keep on the lookout for more teardowns in the future. Again, my name is Alyssa. I'm the head of content at Iterable, and we appreciate you joining us today. Thanks.